Is it time for Alex Kurtzman to step away from Star Trek? And if he doesn't, is it time for him to be pushed? Welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So in the last couple of weeks, Alex Kurtzman from Secret Hideout has been doing a few interviews. That is partly because they're about to get Strange New World Season 3, and also partly because he's pushing for Academy, which is about to go into production. But it's also because I believe he is trying to solidify his position with Secret Hideout. There are going to be new owners very shortly, Skydance it looks like, at Paramount. And he is trying to talk up a big game about how well Star Trek is doing, how committed he is to Star Trek, even though I happen to know for a fact that during the Warner Brothers deal, he was more than willing to walk away from Secret Hideout. Warner Brothers offered him a 3-movie deal, according to my sources, and was willing to buy him out of Secret Hideout to absorb Secret Hideout into Paramount and create Star Trek Studios that would have allowed Warner Brothers to do the things they wanted to do with Star Trek the most easy way, to basically not throw the baby out with the bathwater. It would have allowed them to continue making things like Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, while also allowing them to maybe scrap a few things they didn't like as much. So, I think Alex Kurtzman has been doing a little bit of a PR run. But what is the sort of things he's been saying, and why have they annoyed me so much? Well, there's really 2 big interviews he had, and the 2 big points he made that kind of, I'm not going to lie, pissed me off a little bit. One was, he sort of said that each new show of Star Trek is not about making just more Star Trek. It's about doing something that's different, telling a story that's never been told before, or introducing us to characters that we've never seen before, or something else. That each series of Star Trek, it's really important to make sure that it's completely different to what came before. Why would that annoy me? Isn't that a sensible thing? It stops people getting bored of Star Trek. It avoids Star Trek fatigue. Well, yes, but this is Star Trek. I know this is going to be a little bit obvious now, but it's sci-fi, it's Star Trek. There is, to be honest, a formula to Star Trek. Now, for me, that is exploration. It is characters, but it is, exploring the whole universe. The openness and freedom of a starship traveling amongst the stars is one of the reasons Star Trek works so well. It's one of the reasons Deep Space Nine didn't work initially, because it was locked into one location, a small location with a very limited scope. But as soon as we got something like the Defiant in there, the show's horizons basically expanded exponentially, and suddenly the show became my favourite Brana version of Star Trek. Now, why do I bring that up? Because Star Trek Academy, or Starfleet Academy, is going to be under what Kurtzman is talking about as being different to the last show. I think from the first couple of episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 5, we've had a little bit of a hint of what Starfleet Academy is going to look like. I think they are aiming for something a little bit quirky. I think they're looking for something that's going to be fun and maybe a little cheeky. I think there's going to be a lot of humour in this series. Even the way they used the music and the sound during Tilly's few scenes that we saw in Discovery, the first episode, when she's talking about what's going on at Starfleet Academy and how she was struggling. Even the music in the background sort of, I think, gave you a hint of what the tone of the show is going to be. I think facts like some of the writers that we've got on there or have a comedic background should also give us a big hint. The problem I have with that isn't necessarily having heart humour or whatever in Star Trek. I'd have no problem with that. It's just that, again, it's going to be a very focused series in a very limited location about training a bunch of officers or a bunch of ensigns from planets that haven't had any real communication with each other for years. I think there's going to be a lot of teenage angst. I think there's going to be a lot of politics in the show, and by that I mean A lot of the relationships are going to be struggling because it's different races that, as I said, haven't had any contact with each other for a long time, thanks to the burn. And I think that is going to be the main focus of the show. That, to me, isn't a sci-fi show. It's Star Trek 90210. It's Star Trek teenage crap, to be honest. There will obviously be science fiction in this series. There will obviously be way missions and things and ways for them to learn the future of how to work together. But it doesn't have the freedom. It doesn't have the exploration. It doesn't have the excitement, potentially, of a series that is just Star Trek, that is just based aboard a starship, doing missions, getting out there and getting the job done. Now, the theory or the plan of Star Trek, of each season being different, and even this idea of different series for different demographics, is something the Secret Hideout have done very consciously. I've seen Gene Roddenberry's kid talking about this, etc., on interviews, and he says that it is something they do. That if you don't like one series of Star Trek, it's fine, because we've got another series for you to go and check out. I cannot tell you how much that business model annoys me. And this does come from Alex Kurtzman. Alex Kurtzman's discussions in this recent interview, saying about how each series must be different. This is his philosophy. This is coming from him. And to be honest, it's not making Star Trek. It's making a franchise that's going to try to interest as many people as possible, not a show to interest sci-fi fans. Now, this actually does come on to something he did say in that interview, where he said, look, you can't please everybody, so don't try. So what he's doing instead is trying to please everybody by doing lots and lots of different sorts of shows and hoping that something will stick. A little like a monkey throwing poop out of a cage at the zoo, hoping that maybe randomly he'll hit something. I think that's a terrible idea for Star Trek, and I think it's a terrible idea in general for any sort of franchise. In another interview, though, he said something that really irritated me, because I really do think it's completely opposite to what he's then talking about trying to not please everybody. Because he actually said the Star Trek fans, the core fans, have to come first. Since when? I have to argue that Alex Kurtzman, for me, has never put the core Star Trek fans first. If he did, there wouldn't be such a divided fan base. For me, Star Trek is very much about action, pew 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 pew, lasers, looking pretty, and really a lot of the story, etc., comes second. Particularly, I really like this first series of Strange New Worlds. I'm actually quite enjoying Discovery. I'm going to do a video about Discovery Season 5 in a minute. See that in the next couple of days. But it's not, the new Star Trek isn't really Star Trek for me. It's a completely different style over substance, which it never was before. Before, under Brennan Braga and under Roddenberry, it was substance first. It looked good. They had special effects, don't get me wrong. And, the design of the ships, etc., was important. But what happened to storylines that make sense to expand your thinking, expand your knowledge? Why does Star Trek now seem to be focusing very much on trying to remind us about TNG episodes instead of creating new episodes about something for us to get excited about? I don't understand Alex Kurtzman saying that the core fans of Star Trek must come first, but then talking in the same breath pretty much about how core fans don't necessarily love Discovery, but he's really proud of the fact that it's generated and created a whole new fan base. Kurtzman, make your mind up, because both of those statements cannot be true. You cannot say that the core fans are what's important while then saying that the core fans aren't important if you create a new fan base and creating shows for different fan bases. This is one of the reasons why I think Alex Kurtzman now does need to move on. He does not present a confident front for Star Trek. He does what he wants to do with Star Trek and then does interviews about how it's the Star Trek fans that really matter. I say that's BS. He's always done what he's wanted with Star Trek. He's not put the core fans first. If he had done, he wouldn't have done that thing with the Klingons he did in Discovery Season 1. He must have known that would annoy everybody. So, yeah, I actually think now it is really time for Alex Kurtzman to move on. I don't think he's ever totally understood what Star Trek is. I don't think he really ever will. And, with new owners over at Paramount, he's trying to talk up a big game in all these interviews. But I'm hoping the owners can see through his bullshit and know that actually it is time for a new direction in Star Trek. That ship, for me, is maybe sprung a leak in a few places. I'm not saying it's sinking. I'm not saying Star Trek is sinking. But I don't see how Starfleet Academy can be successful. I don't see how delaying Legacy will work. And I don't see how the movie events every 2 years straight to Paramount Plus will actually save the franchise either. I think we're at a very dangerous point in Star Trek where we've come off the back of Picard Season 3 that was very successful. And now what that comes next is going to be really, really important. But guys, what do you think? How much for Kurtzman is to blame, basically, for the most recent Star Trek, if you've not liked it? And if you have liked it, how much of that is because of Kurtzman? Would it actually be a bad idea to get rid of him? Get in the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And you can never forget, you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/sidetrack, where most of our new videos do premiere first, and you get to see them without the adverts. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.